Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1.
Vinyl Tap.
I'm Jason.
I'm Jason.
I'm Jason.
And we just listened to Pinewood Rally by Björn Skifs.
Indeed.
Bjorn again. Oh, what it would be. To be Bjorn again.
Overall
Interesting
impressions, if I can speak. Beebs?
You can speak, and they were pretty good, actually. I kind of quite enjoyed this. I've never heard this album before, and it was a banger. It was true classic 70s, I feel. It had lots of Earth, Wind, Fire, or Blood, Sweat and Tears, depending on your flavour. Basically the same band, just different name.
I get what I'm picking up what you're putting down there.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up what you're eating there. It's the horns, right? That give
It's
you
the
that
horns.
Earth, Wind, Fire kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's the horns. And with that kind of like funk guitar in the background as well.
I mean, so there's one song on this album that everyone knows, and then 11 that no. Well, I mean, there are covers of other songs that people will know.
Always something there to remind
yeah,
you that, no, just not this version.
Yes, and what a shame that is.
Yeah.
As we'll get into. But everyone knows Hooked on a Feeling. It's a huge ass song, and then no one knows anything. I mean, like, he's a successful guy, Björn Skifs.
Oh, yeah.
He's super successful, but like that's like the one song.
Is he successful? I've basically never heard any of these songs other than in other songs.
I mean, also a lot of these are generally kind of credited to Blue Suede, the band, which, from my understanding, he created so that he had a place for his music to be.
Yeah, seems to be. So like, it existed for 2 or 3 years, so he could like have a backing band, basically.
I think so. Like, Hooked on a Feeling, most people wouldn't know as Björn Skifs. They'd know it as Blue Suede. And even on Spotify, this is a Björn Skifs album, but almost every song is played by Blue
But
Suede.
it seems that he wrote, I mean, aside from the cover songs, Björn Skifs wrote all the lyrics and maybe the music. I don't know what.
Yeah.
You probably know more than I do.
Not really. I haven't heard this album before.
Yeah.
today,
I
to
don't
be
think
honest.
any of us have.
Right, so this is Blue Suede. Is he singing? Is Bjorn Skifs
Yes.
Yeah,
singing?
he's the singer for Blue Suede. He's part of the band.
Ah.
But this is like his album.
Yeah, and he's had an extensive solo career outside of it.
Right, okay.
Like,
Yeah,
he's still
cool,
going.
Cool.
47 years later.
He's also done some acting and stuff. What did I
Yeah.
find? He's the voice of like Toy Story Woody in Sweden.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
there you go.
Yeah, in Sweden.
Yeah, in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Not not the Woody that you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I'll have to watch the Swedish version.
It's our next movie night.
Woo! No, it was really good. I really liked...
Yeah, I had a great time with this album.
Yeah, it was kind of banging just the whole way through. I don't know, what were your feelings on it, Jason? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
I think that it's in a pretty good order as well. Like as an experience.
It's such a strong album.
And then
Yeah,
the
the whole
way that it ends, like A Song for You is clearly the most musically distinct song on the album.
I'll pay that.
Yes and no.
But mainly,
But
yes.
yes, mainly
Like,
yes.
texturally, tonally, it's very different, but it's like a really nice
Coda.
summary,
Yeah.
ending to it all. It gets a bit more chill because it's 90% of the song is just a piano and a voice, and then a bass comes in towards the end to kind of make it hit a little bit.
So I
and
guess
then it goes back to piano and voice.
we're doing this back to front then, right?
Not necessarily.
It
It's
doesn't
just-
have to be.
So like,
I'm just saying.
harmonically and like thematically in terms of its like melody motifs and all that sort of stuff, it fit the whole album perfectly. But it didn't have, those blasting horns and all of that, the drums and that kind of big sound.
Some wacky guitar tones.
The wacky guitar tones and that kind of... But
Slap
everything
bass.
else was kind of there, right? There was like the
I'm
the
not
really
saying it-
beautiful like rhythms that were kind of a
it's
bit...
composed the same, but it's not produced the same.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say it doesn't.
Which is
Yes.
a great way of maintaining a consistent, like, thematic
Feeling.
idea across an album without it sounding the same. That's
Right.
really cool.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say it doesn't stand out as like it's a different song completely and doesn't belong. It definitely belongs, but it was just done in such a different way to
It hits
everything else.
Because imagine if they put Hooked on a Feeling at the end, it'd be like, oh, okay. I mean, it's still a great song, but it'd be like, a Song for You really hit at the end there.
It did. It brought the energy right back. So, like, from the beginning all the way to A Song to You, the energy is quite up.
Yeah.
And it's upbeat and it's kind of dance. And then this is like the mellow brings you back down to sort of where you started. Or at least that's how I felt, which I thought was just a really nice way to end it. And also not ending on a tonic or any kind of resolution.
Ends on the dominant chord.
Yeah.
It really left me open.
Did you hate
I've
that?
come around on it a little bit. I did hate it in the moment. I really did.
But
But
you
I
always
think
do.
I think I've come around.
You always don't like things leaving things open.
Not
even
not
when
at
they're-
all. You're lying. That's a bold-faced lie.
Fine.
Leaving
In
things-
general, you
In
don't like
general.
leaving things
I don't
unresolved.
even know if that's true.
No, I would agree with that. I
Okay.
think we're running you out 2-1.
Okay. About my own opinion.
Yeah.
Just from experience with you writing, you like to have some resolution.
All right.
Yeah, that really, kind of, it felt like I was about to resolve, and then he kind of meandered off.
It did resolve, and then it unresolved.
Yeah.
It's like, and here's the end, psych. And then it actually
and
ended.
then it actually ended.
But I mean,
yeah.
it did not leaving it as unresolved, but in a few songs it did the here's the end, but here's the end again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them faded out as well.
Yeah.
So, pulling it right back to the very beginning of
Yeah,
the
sure.
album. Okay, how did everyone feel about the drums in this? Because I kind of warmed into them as it went on, but the first song particularly, I felt the drums were just a bit heavy in the fills, like just a bit too full and a bit too much happening. And the toms had like no low end at all. They were just like, well, how do I describe it? A tom with no It was just
The and not the
yeah.
ooh.
And so there are all these, it's like doing these huge like tom rolls, which was just like,
Right.
and
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how I
Couple
felt
of thoughts
about
on that.
You two sort this out.
Do you think that continued across the album and you just got used to the sound? Or do you think the low end was not? Because
That's what I thought, but then it was really distinctly noticeable later on, and I don't exactly know which song it was. I think it was like from around Destiny, it sort of started to happen again.
Because I don't know how it was recorded, but 1974 this was released. So like early 70s recording techniques and productions. They're probably not miking every single drum. And also in terms of mixing, that bass carried so much through, like the bass guitar carries so much through that they would have given it a bunch of space that might have cut into like the tom frequency
okay,
when
yeah.
they're like mixing and trying to keep things separated a bit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Don't know for certain, but I personally wasn't offended by the drums in this.
I
think
did,
they were
I did get used to it.
pretty understated for most of it. Like they were groovy and held their place and in the pocket the whole time, but I don't think that there was anything that caught my attention in a good or a bad way.
That's basically what I thought because I never pay attention to the production side of anything.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. The first, I don't know, because I really only have good things to say from the drums beyond that first song. But after that, like the opening to it, I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna hate the drums through this whole thing. And no, it ended up being pretty cool. Like really in the pocket, they had this really, really cool rhythm in Always Something There to Remind Me. This kind of like weird shuffle rhythm where it was like a snare and a 2-end and then like an open hi-hat, I think it was, on like a 2 or 1 or something. I don't know. But the shuffle rhythm's really cool. You should have a listen to it because it's banging. But yeah, I don't know. That was my only
That was an
criticism.
interesting cover.
Is that a cover?
Do you not know There's Always Something There to Remind Me?
No.
It's an extremely famous song.
Yeah.
No, wait. By who?
I can't remember.
Jason's definitely
I
not
thought-
searching this
Oh,
up.
I'm
as we
going
speak.
to for people.
It's something we should know.
Yeah, it's something I should know. Burke Baccarat, of
Oh,
course.
right, yeah. I said that last night.
We
yeah.
were talking about it last night. It's Burke Baccarat.
Yeah.
And Hal David.
Well, I don't know it, so...
Right. Well, you do now.
I do now, 'cause I heard
the
this.
Bjorn Skifs version.
So I guess the
It's
Beyond
pretty good.
Skifs version is the most original then.
Nah, the Burke Baccarat's pretty good. It's
Pretty
popular.
dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked what they did with it, though.
Yeah, the slight change of rhythm as well, in like the vocal
the
inflection.
chorus is more syncopated, and there was a lot more textural variation than I recall in the original.
I see.
Like halfway through the chorus, it drops back to just it loses basically all of its momentum.
Sorry, I'm just looking for my notes on it.
That bit with the fluty flute.
The
It was
fluty flute. Yeah,
very-
that was really cool.
Not quite musical theatre. I don't know what to call it. A lot of like
Earth,
vamping,
Wind and Fire?
maybe, but like especially like the intro to it. It was just like a spoken preamble with the band just
true.
like vamping on the chords.
It's like dramatic and camp, like that kind of rock.
Yeah,
Which is it's a lot of fun.
and also the textural shifts that they had in the chorus as well were one of my favorite things, just in terms of like building up with everything in and then dropping to like with the flute being the main line. I can't even remember what was dropping out because it dropped out for
just
that section
stuck in.
and then some more stuff came back in and then it dropped back for the verses
The
again.
drums basically stopped. They didn't exactly, but they and like
More or less,
yeah.
Also, there was a certain point of maybe 3/4 through the song where like they started doing brass stabs,
Yes.
which are just
super
amazing.
The
Cool.
horns are used so well throughout this album. I mean, you've heard "Hooked on the Feeling." Everyone's heard "Hooked on the Feeling," and everyone knows the brass in that song, and it's so fucking cool.
It's really, really cool.
That stuff's all throughout this album, except for the song for you, obviously.
I was trying to work out what made it really, really cool. And I think just from my single listen to this, all of it, it was they kind of come in about halfway through the phrase. And they're like, I think it was,
It's very call and response.
It's an interjection.
it's an interjection, and they do these really cool. Which song is it particularly? So in Silly Millie, basically, the brass line begins by ascending, which the like vocal line is descending at that point, and then the vocal line like starts ascending, and then they like go up in harmony
Yep.
together. So like the brass line's doing something different and contrasting to the vocal line, and then they match up in unison right at the end of the phrase. And it was like doing that throughout, like the horns were doing that the whole way through, and it just gave it so much like thickness, like 2 C's, thick as. It was really nice.
I also just, it was very call and response. Like, it wasn't a lot of dead time between vocal lines because you'd have like a horn line there or a flute.
The best example of that is in "Hooked on a Feeling" because everyone knows it. "Hooked on a Feeling,"
Everyone
dun dun dun
sings,
dun.
sings the
Dun,
horn
dun,
line, yeah.
Dun,
I am
yeah.
believing, but da da da.
Yeah.
Right? There's no space there. It's filled by a different tone, which is interesting and it carries.
There was a bit, speaking of tones, that Jason, you thought it was maybe a flute? What song was that?
I said he was asking if it was just a trumpet. It was in
I thought there
Something's
was a
Burning.
flute there, but
Something
I didn't get
Burning.
to listen to it again.
I reckon it's either, well, I think it's both, right? It's both flute and trumpet playing together, because
It was playing like throughout the verse, like after the vocal lines. It would have come in between Bjorn's lyrics. And the first time I heard it, I thought it was a French horn because it was such a mellow tone. It's not a French horn,
No,
obviously.
no.
It-
But see, that's
and then it
'cause-
started sounding more like a trumpet. So I think it's either a very mellow trumpet player or a
cornet.
flugelhorn.
Yeah,
it
okay.
could be
Horn.
flugel, actually. I thought that they doubled up, was my
I
gut
thought there was a
impression.
flute there as well, but I wasn't certain. And if it was probably super low in the mix.
Later on, it sounded a lot more like just a trumpet.
Just a regular
Yeah, I was going to
trumpet.
say there are definitely sections where it was definitely trumpet, but there was a middle section that flew by, and I was like trying to figure out if it was a flute or not, and then I missed
You know what?
it.
It could be flugel, actually, because that would fit the whole brass band in, rock kind of vibe, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
Um,
I don't think I heard any tubas. Barry Sachs I heard a bit of. which
Barry
was fun.
Sachs is kind of ripping it out.
Yeah.
While we're on tone,
Sure.
Bjorn's vocal tone is super interesting.
He's
and,
incredible. I
super
love his
cool.
voice so much.
I didn't check on every song, and I can't remember which song I did check on, but I think they're doing what is a pretty common thing now of like doubling the vocal. I don't think that he was like sitting middle of the mix. I think he was one in each ear and like panned a little bit,
Right.
giving it like.
Are they separate takes or the same take? But
I don't know. I didn't double check that,
yeah,
but I
it
know
sounded pretty unified to me, so it probably is the same take.
Probably same
it
take.
could be the same take, but because I was just like, there's this weird thickness to it that I couldn't place,
Yeah.
and so that's when I checked in the headphones and was like, I'm pretty sure
It's split over the
It's
two.
split across.
Do you know if that was a
both.
very common thing or?
I don't know if it was then. I know it is now.
I've heard some things from around the same time. It's like Rush did it back then as well. Led Zeppelin did it a bit during
yeah,
the
Zeppelin
70s.
definitely did.
But they're always big fans of strange production techniques.
Who did Superfly?
Pass.
Fuck, am I going to get this really wrong? Curtis Mayfield?
I don't know.
Is that?
It was Curtis Mayfield, everybody. Let's roll with that.
I'm pretty sure that has very similar. Actually,
Okay.
now that I think of it, similar production.
Right, so it's not an unheard of thing, but it is like an interesting technique for the time.
Yeah, I know it became super. Like Foo Fighters do it in like Everlong.
Right.
Yeah,
Like it's
What do they normally do? What are we contrasting here with? What's the alternative?
just having the single take in the center.
Yeah, is like as the lead vocal line.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense. Right.
Yep.
Cool.
So there's your vocal tone. Did you guys pick up on many vocal harmonies throughout the album?
No.
There weren't too many.
There were a lot of like backing vocals that weren't harmonizing
yeah.
at the same
There
time.
were counter melodies.
Yeah. I mean, some of them, again, probably more call and response
Yeah,
than like a counter
that
melody.
That beach rock greasy kind of way.
Like the Never My Love,
Yeah.
where
Oh,
the
it's
backup
fire.
vocals were saying the line before the main line.
Yep.
Was really cool.
Same thing happened in was it Something's Burning? No, I think that was all unified. Silly Millie, I think, did the same thing. Or I've just forgotten how the song worked, how the album went.
Can I just really quickly interject with Never My Love? Come on,
Oh, yeah.
like literally that same melody went over that whole backing bit, the vamp
This
that
must
they
have been
began with.
first, though. When was Come On Eileen?
80s, wasn't it?
I thought so.
Just asking all the tough questions.
Jason Google stuff.
Yeah. Curtis Mayfield was correct, by the way.
Yes,
He nailed it.
didn't commit sacrilege.
82. So yeah, like
Right, this
10
was
years
first.
later.
There you go. We have to talk about Half Breed. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, we do. We really do.
Yeah, I guess.
So, 47 years is a long time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking at it through a very different lens, but
And the song is called Half Breed.
Yeah.
And
Okay, is it actually?
well, the song's about that it's a
Racist.
slur,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it
which
covers.
is really
but
interesting.
musically it was really interesting, but they took that I don't know how to vocally describe it. What they were doing vocally in the background in the chorus was,
Like that chant.
I don't know if I'd call it a chant, but like
Drone?
Yeah, what do you call it when you
the
depict something in sound?
American Indian
Yeah.
thing that people do. I don't know how to.
Oh, the
vocal-
woo, woo, woo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was kind of happening as a background texture.
Right. And there was all like this other like the sleigh bells I think were in this song as well, or at least a tambourine.
There was a
but-
vibra slap also.
Yeah, like all those like typical sort of, I don't know, instruments that
The
they
twangy
use,
shit.
the twangy
Yeah.
shit that's used to depict like
The American West, basically.
yeah. But then also like the lyrics themselves were kind of, I don't know, I don't think they were too racist, right? Because they're talking about it as like it's a slur, it's a bad thing, and it's hard to live as someone who's,
But they still called the song Half Breed.
Well, the song's,
It's the 70s.
That's what it's about. Are they supposed to not call it that? It's the fucking tag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's like if they're not celebrating that word, right? Half-breed's not like oh yeah, this is what,
They're really unhappy with it
yeah.
in the song.
Yeah.
The other point I would have is that, like, I think it's from the first person, the lyrics, and it's like, I think it was that my mother was a white man who married Cherokee or something like that. But he's not, like, Björn Skifs is Norwegian.
So then, yeah.
So I don't know if this one's a cover, if it came from somewhere else, or if he's just, like, putting himself in someone else's shoes. It's an interesting song. It is called Half-Breed, which is a word that feels a bit icky.
Look, it's questionable. I don't think it's quite the same level as, say, Wigwam Bam.
No.
It's not in that category at all, but it's definitely a little bit like...
It's a Venn diagram.
It's a bit on the edge, right?
Yeah.
Um,
You wouldn't cover it today.
No.
what? I don't see
Unless
any
you
problem
wanted
with
the
that, no?
negative press.
They
Yeah,
did some
which one?
really, really cool...
Now here's why I wouldn't cover it in today's world. It's got a semitone key change for no reason.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
true.
it happened a
That's
couple
right.
of
It
times.
did, and it
Silly Millie.
worst part about the album for me.
Yeah, 100%.
I really hate them.
We're going to have to do a whole month just on those.
No,
We are, just so we can have a whole episode
Just
discussing how much we hate
the
them.
Disney soundtrack theme.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, that happened a little bit. Thankfully, "Hooked on a Feeling" was not hit by them. You know how "Don't Fear the Reaper" is associated with the cowbell? Like, that's the cowbell song?
Yes.
Even though it came out 3 years after "Hooked on a Feeling," which has just as strong a cowbell.
Yeah,
So, what are you doing, SNL? It was right there.
yeah, but Hooked on a Feeling distracted everybody with
The
Ooga Chugga Ooga.
yeah.
Actually, how did they get away with that musically? Like, what the fuck?
mean,
Like,
It is pretty bizarre.
I know, like the intro, they're singing over like Ooga Chugga, and then I was like, oh, it kind of goes away and it's a real song. Oh, that's kind of cool. And then it comes back, and
Yeah,
they're
it
singing
does.
over it again, and
Like
it's
the
like
third verse.
It's weirdly super refined and
because
super
it's very chant-like
Rhythmic.
and rhythmic.
yeah, but
It's basically the drums.
Yeah, it's very
guess
percussive.
so,
It's
yeah.
not like a melodic or even like meant to be a vocal
Okay.
interest. It's like a rhythmic thing.
Hypothesis. If it was just Ooka Chaka the whole way through, it would be bad. But because like it does it 3 times and I think it goes Ooka Ooka, it repeats that, it like has some structure to it, and it's like you can hook into how it actually functions. So it is a drum beat because it has like an ebb and flow to it.
okay, yeah, I can.
It just happens to be Ooka Chaka Ooka.
Also, I love the way it transitions where you've got the horn and then the drums on the dun, dun,
Yeah,
and then
there's
the
a bar-
bass
there's a 2/4
slide.
bar.
yeah,
Yeah.
That bass line is really interesting because it's a 5-1, right? It's E flat, A flat, except the first chord of the chorus, A flat major,
yes.
it's in second inversion. The bass lands on the E flat, so it like sounds weak, and then it comes back
then
to
it
the A
comes
flat.
back.
So it's like a rebound on
odd.
the second beat, which is super interesting. That's wacky.
It kind of yeah. Does it do that every time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that is wacky.
But it means that you get the full octave slide on the bass. It must have been detuned a semitone to get the E flat.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think even though you're landing on second inversion, because you get that whole octave slide, it's
Yeah.
still strong, right?
Yeah.
You still end up with this like landing and home.
It's such an interestingly composed cadence, I think.
The texture in it as well is super, super cool. When they change from the uka chaka to that like open like choral section, is that the bridge? When
I'd call it the pre-chorus.
the pre-chorus?
Yeah.
But like transitioning from that really thick like vocal rhythmic texture to just open chords.
It's a choir now.
Oh, so beautiful, so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's it. That's all.
You know how cool this song
You know how
is.
cool it is. You should listen to it. The only other thing that I really got to hugely comment on is Lonely Sunday Afternoon, which is just Autumn Leaves or Dark Eyes
Yep.
for those of you who
No gypsy
know
thing.
Gypsies music. And the wire in that was super fucking tight.
Oh yeah, true.
Really
Yeah,
like that.
but even before that, the walking bass, the piano, like on every beat when the piano comes in,
There was
the guitar line at the beginning with the vocals is really pretty. Like, it's just a really nice.
It's a total slapper.
Yeah, really nice.
Did I hear
song.
banjo? There's like an acoustic guitar of some kind. It
I thought it was just
towards the end.
towards the end. I thought
Yeah.
talking at the beginning. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was just a single guitar, if not maybe two. But no, I was too wrapped up in everything else to.
Right.
hear
Yeah. There was a
banjo.
lot going on. It's a super dense song and it's awesome.
I think that's a really nice thing they do across the album is texturally. They're really good at not keeping the same texture, even within the same sections. Things shift and change, especially having a brass section that might come in halfway
Yeah.
through a section. And
Is that something like from the time though? Is that like a 1970s feature? Those
Well, the
big
70s are a big
contrasts?
mess, aren't they?
They are.
So I
Yeah.
suppose that makes sense.
Yeah, but I can think of quite a lot of 70s music, although thematically it's all very similar, so it's probably just a theme of this genre, right? But
Yeah.
they all like feature those big textural changes, like the ebb and flow in terms of like having brass and the full band and then cutting right back to just vocals and
Yep.
something. Like I think that might be a more genre thing than, and like a sign of the times more than maybe beyond.
Than what they had decided.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they could just be really amazing. I don't know.
I mean, it
Both.
is really amazing, and I can tell you that, like, if we switch to another element, if we go to harmony, this album is so interesting.
Yeah.
There's so much going on here. There's thought put into everything.
Right.
I can tell you that. They're a big fan of their line cliches, if you hadn't noticed. Yeah. They do the 1 major 7, 1 7, 4 minor 1. They really love that. That happens like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, line cliches are great though.
Yep. And
Jason's
there was
just quietly very
Autumn
happy.
Leaves, which is like a classic jazz progression. Did you get a calypso feeling out of some of the songs?
Calypso.
Or am I insane?
Calypso
Anything
being...
in particular? What song? And
Well, Hooked on a Feeling kind of feels like, I'm relaxing on a fucking beach. Does anyone get that vibe?
no.
Or am I insane? It's the cowbell.
It might be
It's
the
the cowbell.
It might be the percussion though.
Yeah.
Also, like their percussion was going off chops the whole album. You know, with bells and
Yeah.
woodblock and cowbell,
Vibraslap?
vibraslap.
Yep.
And like a lot of polyrhythm going on. Also, talking about harmony, Silly Millie, around the 40-second mark.
Yes.
What was going on exactly there?
So they have this chorus. The song's in B flat. They do the whole the chorus. We're gonna start on 4 1 5 1, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty standard stuff. Then it does it again 4 1 5 1. Then it lands on the 4 for the big. Oh, here's the end of the chorus, and then it goes to the flat 7.
Oh, flat 7.
And then back to 4, back to flat 7.
Yeah.
So it's like doing a false cadence, and then it goes back to 1 after the flat 7, which is it was so unexpected.
It was, and then they didn't do it again the second time. They went 4 flat 7 and then just straight back to 1.
Yeah.
Which I hated, but also really liked.
Yeah, because it would have been a little bit much to do it again.
Yeah.
Is it weird that they did it the first time and not the second time? You would expect it to be the other way around.
I guess you
To
would.
I
draw
think they
more out of it the
probably
second
thought
time.
of the key change would be enough the second time.
You're right, and they were wrong.
Yeah, they were wrong, but that's probably where their heads were at.
Yeah.
While you're explaining things, I wash my hands in muddy water.
Yep.
It's got so many 12-bar blues elements, but you're telling me it's not... Like, I know you're saying it's 16 bars, but that's not...
It's not the 12-bar progression.
What is it?
It's 1 5 5 1 1 and then 1 7 to 4. It's just not the same progression as a 12-bar blue.
Is it close though?
Yeah, I was going to say,
it
that's
uses-
just a turnaround, right?
It
With
uses
the-
all the same chords, but not in the same order.
That's still just a 12-bar blues,
Okay.
though, right? Isn't it?
Sure.
Is it? Well, what is a 12-bar blues?
I don't think it definitively has to be this chord to this chord in this bar.
Maybe not
It's
anymore.
got all the, like, hallmark elements of the,
Yep.
like...
I was going to say, you heard me say while we were listening that it reminded me of one specific band so strongly, and that's Creedence Clearwater Revival. This is a CCR song.
I'm surprised you like it then. You don't like CCR.
I don't, but I did like this because it has some interesting harmony, like the turnaround that we're talking about. So it has that, it lands on the 4, then like chromatically ascends to the 5th,
Yeah.
and then it does a 6 2 5 1, which is like, all right, cool. It's great. It's cool.
Yeah.
Epic rockabilly stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is very epic rockabilly, and
It's
oh yeah. In fact, that whole song was just banging.
this album, although it was like tone, it wasn't consistent. Like the tone changed a lot. It was thematically consistent, but it was a mixed bag. Like there was so much going on. So many, like any 2 songs from the album are they're not the same.
No, not at all.
There are a lot of different genres explored.
Yeah,
Which
is-
but it still feels like
but it
all
holds
belongs
together as a real
Yeah.
knit piece.
Good job, Bjorn. Next week we'll be listening to Rocket Ride by German neoclassical metal band Ed Guy.
Click above to find out what else was spoken about in this theme.
Click below to support the artist we just talked about.
And make sure to click subscribe so you don't miss our next episode.